You literally cannot mandate somebody to wear a mask knowing that that mask is killing people. It literally is killing people. And we the people are waking up, and we know what citizen's arrest is, because citizen's arrests are already happening, okay? And every single one of you that are obeying the devil's laws are going to be arrested. And you, doctor, are going to be arrested for crimes against humanity.
The problem with humanity today is ignorance, arrogance, and apathy. Keep taking the road of least resistance. Keep listening to the TV brainwashing you from birth.
And they want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
Episode 15, No Hipsters Pod. It's your host, Ronte, the founder of NoHipstersAllowed.com. And this week, our co-host is travel blogger and event planner, Alexis Garner.
Hey, hey.
What up?
What's going on?
We out here.
Yeah.
So, actually, I've been meaning to have you on for a while now, so I'm happy that you're here. You know, you're one of the biggest supporters, so I appreciate you so much. So I'm glad to have you here. So let's get to the topics. Jada Pinkett seems to have gotten herself hemmed up with this young man, August Alsina.
27, quite young.
She and August Alsina have been involved, according to August.
I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on several times, and it, not involving romanticism. Mm-hmm. He gave me his blessing, and I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly and really, really deeply loved and have a ton of love for her. I devoted myself to it. I gave my full self to it. So much so to the point that I can die right now and be okay with knowing that I truly gave myself to somebody.
He hinted about a relationship with Jada in a song he released last year. And, he never really quite, was explicit about it, but he hinted, showed the screenshots, and, I think he referenced her middle name, which is Corin. Mm-hmm. And then now in an interview with Angela Yee, he just goes out and says that, they were involved and that Will, sanctioned the relationship and that he had to sit down. And now, shit's hit the fan. It's been all social media can talk about for the last 5 days. And the memes are hilarious. And so, I guess my first question to you is, do you actually believe that it happened?
Absolutely believe that it happened. When you start to hear the little rumblings of these things, it's for a reason, right?
Right.
This young man, he didn't just pull this out of the air for the clout. We've seen the imagery of them, being in close proximity together, going to events together, going on family vacations together. Right. And then even, I know he was featured on an episode of the Red Table Talk where he talks about addiction. Mm. And in that episode, it came very clearly across to me that Jada was pivotal in helping him through that very tough time in his life. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that something was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, see, where I'm going to disagree is that I do think he's doing it for clout. It did happen, but I think the only reason why we know about it is because he's trying to put himself in the headlines. He has an album to promote, and and that's why I think he's a bit of a cornball, because if you do something and you guys kind of have an understanding that this is private business, there's no reason why you should put it out there in this way. And so
let me say this. If you're Jada and Will, why do you not have documented agreements? And there's an understanding and then there's an NDA. Let's be clear. You need to have your stuff laid out. Beyonce don't play those types of games. Let's be clear.
Clearly. But, I think they trusted him and figured, he wouldn't play us in this way. He wouldn't put this out there. They were, I guess, naive, because I can imagine being in that position and risking such bad publicity. And so if there was an NDA that he violated, then, he's an idiot. But I don't think there was one. And that's where they fucked up.
Right.
So,
I agree.
It's unfortunate. It's also funny, but they should have known better. And apparently he was introduced to Jada through Jaden, which is
her
just,
son.
Just makes this all that weirder. But Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of got a lot of weird stuff going on in general a lot of the time, but I do love following that family. I just, I find them to be really interesting and will especially be uplifting. So I'm all about it. Whatever they got going on, it's their business. And but it seems like Jada's about to make it our business because she's bringing it to the red table.
I saw that dramatic ass tweet. I'm bringing myself to the red table. Which
super dramatic.
Right. Henceforth will be my way of announcing that I'm holding myself accountable, because that's just that's funny as hell. But yeah, I can't wait. I definitely will be tuning for that one. So, and I guess my next question would be, could you be in an open marriage?
That's an interesting question. So I think that for me, whatever my partner and I agree to and respect, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to shut myself off to something like that, but I just know that, whatever we agree to, that's what it is.
Right.
And you know what I mean? I believe in paper. Let's write it down. Let's sign off on it. You know what I mean? So that, there are repercussions if you violate it. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm closed off to the idea. I think that relationships are just so different these days. There's nothing cookie cutter about it. It's not like your mom and dad's, relationships or marriages. And I think that's going to continue to evolve, as society just begins to really accept a lot of non-traditional ideas about life in general. So, hey, I'm open.
Listen, I'm not like super traditional, but I just think that an open marriage just means that it's not what it's supposed to be anymore. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'll end up getting my feelings hurt at some point.
Oh, that's really sweet, actually. But do you think that this goes more in favor of one gender versus another? Somebody's ultimately going to win, somebody's going to lose, or is it really just whose heart is more invested? What is it really about? Right.
I think there's always a winner and a loser, and as with all things, whoever cares the least wins, unfortunately. Right. And so that's just how it's going to be. But I don't know that I have the.
You're not about that life.
I'm not with it. But listen, I don't knock it. And whoever, I actually met a couple who do have an open marriage. So, it is what it is.
Oh, I'd like to talk to them.
Right.
Get them on the show.
Let's move on to the BET Awards, which took place this past weekend. For the very first time, it was remote because, of course, we're all stuck at home. And I thought they did a fantastic job. As opposed to live performances, they had people essentially create videos for the most part. And a few had soundstage situations, but with Megan Thee Stallion, she had really a video, which is great because there was no Savage video. And so, I thought it was beautifully done. And listen, considering the circumstances, they made the most of what they had. And so, kudos to everyone at BET. What do you think of the show?
Gosh, I feel like they knocked it out of the park. I was, so any other year we'd be live tweeting, I guess you call it, on my Twitter. Right. And I live for that every single year. But this year, I just was kind of texting one of my homegirls and we were like, yo, this is really good.
Fantastic.
Really shocked at the delivery. And, so I am an Amanda Seales supporter. I won't say fan, but supporter. I think that she's, hey, I'll claim it. I think that she is really great at putting words to her ideas and really expressing things that I think a lot of people are thinking but not ready to say or willing to say. And I found it really cool that they asked her to do the show. However, I wasn't crazy about her as the host. When it all fell down, I was just kind of that kind of fell flat for me. But the performances were what really took it up. Her intro was cool. I thought that was nice, but I wasn't really crazy. I don't know. It was just a little too over the top for me.
Gotcha.
And I've been to Smart Funny Black. I've supported her and I don't know. What did you think about her as a host?
I'm really surprised about your opinion because it's kind of like mine in the sense that it's a little bit of good and bad. I do overall like Amanda Seales. I loved her back when she used to call herself Amanda Diva. Mm-hmm. And she's speak on the I Love the 90s shows and all those VH1 specials. I thought she was funny back then. And so I've always liked her, but over the years, I've come to find out that a lot of people don't. And so in trying to find out why they don't, I do see why some of the criticisms are there. She's a bit, she could
extra.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think she's funny for the most part. She's smart for the most part. She has some weird takes every now and then, but she's generally smart. One thing she did that I thought was weird was when she was like, defending Jussie Smollett, even when it was obvious that he lied. Yeah. And so, she has her moments, but overall, I think she's funny. I do think some of the hatred towards her is a little over the top. Like, I don't think she's done enough to be hated as passionately as some people on Twitter hate her. Mm-hmm. But, another thing that she does, she made a comment that was very much, you guys hate me because I'm light skinned, which I thought it was, of course I'm paraphrasing, but it was a weird situation where she got dragged the whole weekend for it. And then another time I guess she has there's this publicist that she doesn't like in Hollywood. Oh, yeah. And the publicist had like this Black in Hollywood event, and Amanda, of course, wasn't invited, but she went anyways because she was with, I think, Jesse Williams as his +1. And then she got kicked out. And if I got kicked out of a party, first of all, that would be my deepest, darkest secret, right? Right. But she was so willing to make a civil rights issue out of it.
For the record, I am being denied entrance to the Black People's Emmy Party. And it's a white woman telling me I can't go in. I just want to put this on record that I'm literally being told you cannot get entrance into a party that Jesse Williams invited me to, that is the only Black event for the Emmy weekend, because a white woman is telling me I can't get in. So this is security escorting me out of the Black Emmy party. That's what's happening. I am not being granted entrance to the Black Emmy party in Hollywood. This is Jay. This is security, and I am being escorted out of the Black Emmy party.
This is your dirty secret. We shouldn't know that you got kicked out of a party. So it's
she really made the big deal about it. I think that Hollywood would have known and been like, "Ooh, girl, you got kicked out of a party." But,
right.
Society, the rest of us would have had no.
Yeah.
So just sit with it, girl.
Right.
Evaluate it and move on.
Right. And so it's moments like that just lets me wonder about her, because it's the fact that you don't know that that's an embarrassing story just makes me question your logic in general. Yeah. But yeah, that's Amanda. She's complex, but overall, I think Amanda was good as a host, and hopefully she gets some new gig. It's funny. Apparently, I don't know if I won't say the whole cast, but some people on Insecure are not crazy about her, because I remember Sharuna Jackson was very open about having issues with her, and so hopefully she can figure that out, because clearly she's making a lot of enemies. So,
well, the one thing I will say, I think she's very cognizant of it. She talks about how she has. I've watched a lot of her videos on her Instagram stories and things like that. So, she talks about how she's really worked with her therapist and had to get to the point of liking herself, even though people literally were telling her to her face that she was not liked. And, that's a journey. So I feel her, and that's something that I think she's going to have to continue to work through, just because she's a squeaky wheel.
Right.
She's getting oil, right? She's winning right now. She's doing well. She's got lots of accolades. So, she has to do what works for her. Right. And that's not going to be what works for everybody else.
Right. And at the end of the day, she's super talented. Let's not even mince words about that. She's very, very talented. And that's why she's been as successful as she's been, even, despite having a somewhat abrasive personality. Let's talk about the EU ban against the U.S.
I could cry. I'm laughing, but I really want to cry.
Right. As someone who has a trip booked to Europe in the next couple of months, I'm heartbroken. I think the U.S. is usually good for a ban for other people, and so it's really funny to see us on the other side of that. Yeah. So what do you? First of all, what do you think the timeline on this is going to be? Because at this point, I'm not even sure. We're putting up record numbers this week. We just have 56,000 cases in a single day in the U.S., which is the worst it's ever been. And this is 4 months into, lockdown, almost 4 months. And it's just embarrassing that we haven't been able to get our arms around this this far into the game. So
yeah. Oh, I'll say this. I am a serial optimist.
okay, good.
I'm hoping that it will be lifted by September, only because I'm going to Paris in September, or planning to. But realistically, just seeing, the dramatic increases in the major cities, southern cities, I am thinking that if we can get into Europe by early 2021, we'll be doing good. Because, they have every right to put this ban in place. We are wilding in the U.S.
Wilding.
Wildin'. And our president, or whoever's president, not my president, but y'all's president, he out here and he's saying a lot of stuff that is just inflaming all parts of the world, not just the U.S. Right. So, we're not likable right now. We're not living right. We're not doing right. And the world sees it. So it is what it is.
It truly. And anytime I see IG stories from friends in like Georgia and Texas, I'm like, what, are we in the same country, on the same planet? Like, they're living like none of this is happening. And, summer 2020 is like, it's just moving forward, as planned. And that's why we're having this many cases.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just got to do it right for a period of time so that we can go back to living our lives. Right. Just for whatever reason, people are dishonoring that. And, trust me, it's a struggle. I am a huge extrovert. I love people. This is hard for me.
Right. No,
but,
it's hard for me too. And it's funny. I've been really strict about this whole thing. I've barely gone out of the house in the last 4 months. One of the 3 times I've actually done anything social was for your birthday, at which I was staring at you from across the street because no one was coming close. And so, I've barely done anything, and I feel like I've done my part. And it's not only just unfair to everyone, it's unfair especially to the people who follow the rules, just, so we can get out of this quickly. Beyond the travel, more and more people are going to lose jobs because we're going to have to lock down again. Unfortunately, we might not yet be at the worst point of the pandemic in the U.S., and I am truly frightened. So.
Yeah. It puts it all in perspective. Like you said, people are losing their livelihoods. So if I have to lose my little trip to Paris this year, chunk it up. It is what it is. But, but I do, I hope that that's not what happens. I hope that we're able to travel freely again. And if not, there are, I think, Caribbean countries that are going to start reopening travel to U.S. Probably sooner than Europe. So we'll have somewhere to go. It will be fine. But, it's just funny to see the position that the U.S. of all places is in this pandemic.
Winners and losers. Alexis, as a guest host, you get to go first.
Oh, nice. So I will have to say my winner and loser for this week is actually the same thing.
Okay.
So my winner for this week is Netflix, because I'm pretty sure you saw that they are putting $100 million into black banks, which I think that's really speaking volumes. That's them putting their money where, their mouth is and trying to make a real difference through economic empowerment in this movement. So I'm all about that life. So kudos to Netflix. But then Netflix is also the biggest loser because they are trying to get rid of my show, Ozark. I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about it. So this is supposed to be the last season, right? Season 4. So I don't know. I'm a little hurt about that. I like the birds.
All right. Listen, there's so much to watch on Netflix. If you need suggestions, just let me know.
Okay. I'll holler at you.
Netflix is actually one of my winners, but I'm happy you touched on it. So I'm just going to move on and say that my first winner is high school basketball player Makur Maker. He is of Sudanese descent, and he has just committed to go to Howard University to play basketball, which is a big deal. He's like the number 16 basketball player in the country. He is also a 5-star recruit. And, typically these players go to the University of Kentucky, UCLA, Memphis. These are all schools that he turned down to go to Howard. And so I think it's fantastic move. I think this might be a new day in college sports, because if you think about it, all the star athletes, are overwhelmingly Black, but yet they end up at, schools that aren't HBCUs. So if all that talent comes to HBCUs, we really might be, in a new day for sports. And
yeah, it's major. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, having parents who both went to an HBCU, I know this is what they've been saying for years, but it's just, it took this timing, this perfect timing of events for this to culminate.
Right.
And I'm here for it. And you know what? I went to a PWI, but I'm hoping that it also makes waves so that those institutions change how they treat their Black athletes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just think the change may start with HBCUs, but I think that it could be broader than that for sure.
Right.
So
Absolutely. And my second winner is FedEx, who just released a statement asking the Redskins to change their name.
yeah.
So FedEx is the sponsor of the Redskins Stadium, the FedEx Field out in Hanover or Landover? It's right. Landover,
Maryland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just, made a statement yesterday, and I think that's a huge deal, because maybe for the first time, the owners of the Redskins will take this seriously. And it's unfortunate that it takes their sponsors to say, what's up? And so, because people have been calling for this for years. So I think it's a big deal, and good on FedEx for speaking out. And I think this just goes back to the whole moment, like you mentioned. I think this is the death of George Floyd. There's just been a wave of racial awakening, and I think everyone is, paying more attention and being more introspective. And we're seeing really, big changes. I think, all these things, they seem like small things, but all together, they are huge. All the statues coming down, all the flags being redesigned, all of the buildings being renamed. This is for all of it to be happening in the space of 1 month. Mm-hmm. Like in the future, this period in time is going to be just its own chapter in Black history and world history. And so, kudos to FedEx, like I said. Now, my losers, first and for the second week in a row, would be Terry Crews, who just can't seem to he can't seem to let go of this, Black supremacy concept. And of course, now he's been going around with this quote by Martin Luther King, where he mentions Black supremacy, which I do believe he's taken out of context a bit, but whatever the case, he sounds crazy, and he just won't let up. And it's really sad, because I think, to me, it's him signaling to white people that he is one of the good ones, and that no matter what's happening, in the country, no matter how heated racial tensions are, you can always count on me as a Black person who will be your friend no matter what. And so it's really odd, and I wish he would give it a rest. And go ahead.
It's a lot of coonery happening. I mean, it's like the internet will overwhelm you with examples of it.
Honestly, it's a lot.
It's bad.
It's a lot.
So, I'm again, not surprising. His rhetoric hasn't changed much over time. I'm like, can somebody just sit with this man and talk? Can he sit with Amanda? Maybe Amanda needs to talk to him.
Somebody.
Sit him down.
And then my second loser would be the anti-maskers all across America. They are the reason we are where we are. I mean, I'm going to place all the blame on them, but I think to a large extent, people who aren't wearing masks, the people who aren't socially distancing, the people who are just flouting all the recommendations and living as though this thing is a hoax, or maybe like if they get it, that they will be spared because, they're special and they won't be as sick. It's really, they're truly the biggest losers of the week, and they're killing us, really. I mean,
they're mask holes.
Right.
Technical term. They're mask holes.
Gotcha.
Like, don't be a mask hole.
Right.
Wear a mask.
Wear a damn mask.
I saw that today.
But I mean, seriously, I would hope that at some point people get serious about this. And it's unfortunate that too many people need to bury a loved one to take this seriously. And so hopefully it doesn't get to that for everyone before they take this as seriously as it needs to be taken. Lex, thank you so much for doing this. Before we leave, plug all of your social media.
Thank you for having me, Ron. I am your number one fan.
Of course.
I just got to let all the No Hipsters blog folks know I'm the number one fan.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted. But beyond that, please follow me on Instagram. You can follow me under Jet Set Lex or Bells and Whistles DC. So I hope that you guys will check me out and continue to listen and support No Hipsters Blog, #1 blog in America.
Amen. All right. Episode 15, No Hipsters Pod. We'll see you next time. Bye.